Hi, we're here today with Judge Mary D. Collins of the Court of Common Pleas in the First Judicial District of Pennsylvania, also known as the Philadelphia Courts. Judge Collins, welcome, and thank you again for being with us here today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I'd like to get started by asking you a little bit about your background, if you could give us
A thumbshell
I feel
view of
like
my background.
Yeah.
Well, I have served as a judge. I guess now it's for almost 17 years, but it's been a tenure that's been broken up. I was first elected to the court in 1990. Prior to, and I served a full term, a 10-year term. Then I was retained in 2000 and served part of my second term and left the bench, accepting an appointment by Governor Rendell to be one of the originating board members or commissioners for the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. And this was the board that would basically bring regulated gaming, usher in regulated gaming pursuant to the statute that had been passed by the General Assembly in the summer of 2005. So I left for a period of about 4.5 years, was a board member, served as chairman for the last 2 years of my tenure with the gaming board, and then happily came back to the bench as a senior judge because being on the judiciary is something I've always loved.
That's great.
And so here I am again in senior status. Prior to being on the bench, I practiced law as a sole practitioner for many years, about 6 years, and I also served, I've had a pretty varied career really as an attorney. I served as in-house counsel for a large Fortune 500 corporation called Certainteed Corporation. It's now known as Saint-Gobain, and there I did labor law and employment law, and I served also as an assistant district attorney for a number of years. So, well,
in the white-collar crime unit,
right, in the
yeah.
Economic Crimes Unit,
Okay.
I was an assistant chief there.
All right.
And then from there went to the bench. I have spent the bulk of my career really in public service.
Yes.
And I must say it's been very satisfying, and it's been a great career. I've been very fortunate.
Well, that's great, and we've been very fortunate to have you in the
That's
court
very nice.
system.
Thank you.
And the public, of course, has benefited a lot. I noticed from reading your resume and gathering some information about you that a lot of your experience has been based on labor law, and then you worked also in the district attorney's office in the economic crimes unit. But also, I thought, wasn't there an attachment with the federal?
Early on, when I first graduated from law school,
Yeah.
I was a hearing officer for an agency that's now defunct, the Federal Employee Appeals Authority. And that agency used to conduct civil service hearings, basically,
I
on
see.
issues of EEO complaints, employment
Okay.
discrimination complaints.
Yeah.
And I did that for a number of years. And that's where I got my interest in labor and employment law. And I actually went to school at nights for my master's in labor law.
I was wondering about that.
While I was working in that field.
Now, when you eventually became involved with the gaming, the official angle side of the gaming industry, when it was first introduced to Pennsylvania, it seemed as though you were going to get another place where nobody had been yet before, and they needed your talent in describing the basic rules, what should be and what shouldn't be.
That seems to be where I landed with the gaming board. I mean, I could talk to you for days, actually, about the experience of being with the gaming board. There'll never be another job like it. It was very, very interesting. It was an extremely challenging, interesting experience where we basically formed the first new agency in the Commonwealth in 35 years. The last agency basically was the Lottery Commission, which was much smaller than the gaming board turned out to be. So we formed a new agency. We had to develop the regulations. The first step really for me was to learn about regulated gaming.
Okay.
And that was a very interesting experience. I had the opportunity to dig right in and do a lot of self-teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I went to, visited all the gaming jurisdictions in the country that I could, met with colleagues who were the regulators from other
I see.
jurisdictions,
Mm-hmm.
met with the legislators from other jurisdictions who were developing gaming regulation, and had to work in a very collegial fashion with the board of appointees, all of whom came from different walks of life.
I see.
And so it was a really challenging, interesting
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And from that opportunity, I was able to really use my legal skills and my judicial skills in a very different way. I chaired a committee of legislative assistants who, along with representatives from the governor's office, as well as our lawyers from the gaming board, had to develop all of the regulations that would be the basis for regulated gaming and revenue producing in Pennsylvania. And that was extremely interesting, not only from the academic standpoint, which
Yeah.
was what will these regulations be, and how to create a body of administrative procedure for the board,
Sure.
but also in terms of dealing with the different political and personality influences that
I'll
came
bet.
to the table
And
through
the
this
branches
committee.
of government.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Republicans from the House, the Democrats from the House, the Republicans from the Senate, the Democrats from the Senate, the representatives from the governor's office. Everyone had a legitimate yet different political agenda.
Yeah.
And it was extremely challenging to bring those agendas and that influence together to develop a structure for Pennsylvania that would regulate gaming.
And last. So.
And last.
Yeah.
And it's a very controversial topic. I mean,
Sure.
gambling or gaming is probably as controversial as you get.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a strong opinion. And the validating thing about the experience was the success that we had, literally the billions of dollars in revenue that our efforts were responsible for bringing into the Commonwealth at a time when the Commonwealth, these past few years, where the Commonwealth has not been developing revenue. The
No.
gaming industry and the new revenue has been about it. So it's been very gratifying.
Sure, I'll bet. Well
And it
done.
was fun. And,
Yeah.
and a great break from my life as a judge.
Yeah.
An opportunity to achieve balance in my point of view.
Sure.
An opportunity to not have total control, which you do as a judge in
Right.
the courtroom.
Okay.
That's one of the nice aspects of being a judge. You have so much control,
Yeah.
and within your courtroom, tremendous power. And it's gratifying if you use that power and you don't abuse it.
Yes.
On the gaming board, it was a very different experience. It was more of a team experience,
Okay.
very much a team experience,
Uh-huh.
and I like that
Okay.
a lot.
That's great. Well, congratulations. And I mean, you also were able to help yourself get a completely new education or aspect to your
Absolutely.
education.
Change is good. I've always enjoyed it.
There you go. Speaking of which, how do you think the practice of law, and if you like, you can talk about, from a judge's viewpoint or whatever, however you want to place it. How do you think about the changes what do you think about the changes that have happened in the practice of law, or maybe in a courtroom, whichever you would like to, whichever way you'd like to
That
go?
is a very difficult question for me to answer. When I came back into the criminal side, and
Yeah.
after a 4.5, almost 5-year hiatus from being in state court, and basically about a 15-year hiatus from being in criminal court,
Okay.
I was impressed with how I felt that so little had changed. And I think the reason that I felt that is because the structure that we work in is governed by the Constitution, the statutes, the rules of procedure, so they do not change rapidly. So I think fundamentally the practice and the experience of practicing or judging in Philadelphia for me has not changed significantly. I know procedures have changed in an attempt to streamline things, expedite the processing of cases, and I'm sure statistically there's a demonstration that those changes have been successful. And I think those tweaks are always going to have to be made.
Zone court, whatever, and those sorts of things.
Right, exactly. And those changes obviously are good or effective, but I don't think they fundamentally change the way a judge operates or the way lawyers are operating within the courtroom. At least my platform of experience did not change much. Then I came over to the civil side just a couple of months ago, and I'm having the same sensation that things function much as they did before. The difference I think in more modern practice now in the civil side is probably the amount of discovery that's done. I think probably it's going to be shown that e-discovery and computerized discovery is really going to be a task to manage. But other than that, I don't sense a tremendous amount of difference.
You wonder, I know that through my years working for the court, that when we started to computerize more and more, and then the idea was, of course, a paper-free system, but it seemed as though we're using more and more paper and more details and more, I guess, tasks would be involved to accomplish each administrative action. So in a similar way, I'm thinking that discovery has probably gotten a lot more complicated.
I think so. It's probably become more of an industry than it ever was before. Right. I'm sure from the viewpoint of a practitioner would actually be very interesting in terms of whether or not it's practicing now is more streamlined as a result of computerization and e-filing and all of that. I would think it would be easier for the practitioner. I'm not so sure it makes a big difference to us as judges. I'm not so sure about that.
Now, I know that you're very proud of your experiences with the Gaming Commission. As I said, it's always seems exciting to have gone someplace where a la, the Star Trek, no man or woman has ever gone before.
But I'd like to think of it like that.
Sure. I mean, and because it's absolutely true. Is that the thing that you're most proud of, or is there some other instance or a case or anything that you can think of that you might say, boy, I'm really proud of that?
I can't think of one case where I can say, boy, I'm really proud of that. I think the experience of being a judge is very different because unlike wanting to chart new courses and go into new areas that no one has ever really forged before and create something different, being a judge is just the opposite. You're following precedent. You want to comply with rules. You want to follow the patterns and the legal rules that are that are controlling. So it's a very different experience. And I guess the pride I take in being a judge is my ability to have a courtroom and a product that does comply, that does meet the expectations of the attorneys, that does comply with the rules of law and the case law, and
That's
sort
your
of
job.
not stand out. Right, my job is to have all of this conform to the legal model, and as a judge, that's what we do, and I like that as well. I think there's something I feel like I'm really providing a solution to a solution to a problem by allowing the system to work its way, to work.
Yeah, the way it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are, we as judges, I think we're really fundamentally not expediters, what's the word I'm looking for? Someone who can move things through a process.
Okay.
The
A
words escape. A
facilitator?
facilitator. We are facilitators. But and we do it through applying the law.
Yeah. All right. There's also, I think stewards also might be another word for it, but there's a lot of responsibility in with that. As you said before, in a courtroom, a judge has power, for all intents and purposes, complete power. But if other people...
But it's very humbling. I mean, it's not your power. It's it's power that comes from the role that you serve.
Okay.
And I always found it a very humbling experience, especially in criminal court.
And you have been placed there by the people, by the electorate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there any advice that you might give to a new judge or new judges starting out today?
Well, I think to anyone who starts out as a judge, you have to really be restrained, and you have to listen. You have to show restraint, and you have to listen. You have to learn how to really listen. But restraint is very important.
Okay.
I think.
And does that restraint, that comes as a result of the listening and then
yes, you have to
the
listen.
liberation
Yes.
that goes along with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let the lawyers fulfill their roles.
Okay.
And you fulfill yours when it's appropriate.
That might come as a surprise to a lot of people, that one of the best ways, or one of the ways that you think that someone could fulfill their role as a good judge would be, number one, to listen, and number two, practice restraint.
I do believe that.
I think that's
That's
great.
my philosophy.
I think it's an admirable one.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Is there anything else that you might want to talk with us about today, or that you wanted to share with us today?
No, in general, this is a great opportunity to talk about my respect for the role of a judge, and also for my respect for the job that the court does in the First Judicial District. We, it's a real honor to be back here and to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And, I'm very grateful and enjoying myself a lot.
Well, as I said, we're very happy to have you back here.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Judge.
Thanks. Pleasure talking to you.
Sure. Judge Mary D. Collins of the Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia.